I'm Jim Herrington, and I was really honored when Marcus Leone asked me if I would be willing to participate in the fall campaign that Faithwalking is engaged in. I thought a lot about how I might say what I think the importance of Faithwalking is and how much it's meant in my life. And I thought the easy thing to do would be just to tell you a story that happened just a couple of weeks ago. I was in Sheboygan, Wisconsin. I was there doing some work for the Reformed Church in America. There were 10 congregations on a Saturday morning, pastors and congregational leaders who were in the room. I got introduced. We did a little bit of presentation, let them have some solitude. You know how it goes in the faith walking world. And then we had a break. And during the break, there was this woman who came up to me, and she smiled, and she said, "My name is Cindy." And she said, "I just wanted to thank you." And I didn't know what she wanted to thank me for. I hadn't been there long enough to, do anything that really made a difference. And I said, "What are you thankful for?" And she said, "I just wanted to tell you what a difference the work of faith walking has made in my life." And I nodded my head and I said, "Tell me about that." And she said, "Well, I grew up in this church, the church we're meeting in. My parents were members here. My husband and I have been lifelong members here. I served in a lot of different ways. Recently, I've become an elder in the church." She said, "I would describe myself as a faithful Christian, as a good moral person, as a person who works to be a loving person. And what's also true is that there are several relationships, a couple to be specific in my life, that have just been broken for a long, long time. And I have worked, I have done everything that I know how to do to find a breakthrough. I've prayed for God to bring healing. I've reached out and taken initiative." And she said, and then she teared up and she said, "And it was when I did the faith walking work and began to understand this idea of a vow that I got a real breakthrough." And she said, "Really, around these relationships, I was resigned, I was cynical, I was hopeless that anything was ever going to change. And as I began to see some things in me that I'd never been able to see before, God used that to bring some change in my own life." And what I'm not saying to you is that these two relationships have been, magically changed. But what I am saying is that they're different than they were, and they are continuing to improve over time. And then she teared up again, and she took a minute, and she kind of got control of herself. And then she said, I'm so hopeful." And then she paused and she said, "Do you know how much hope is worth?" And I thought to myself, I do know how much hope is worth. That would be a great story if it was just a story that was like an anecdote. But what I want to say to you is everywhere I go where the faith walking work is going on, people come up to me and say those kinds of things. They tell me stories of real life transformation, where they've been a part of the Christian church for a long period of time, where they've done everything that they know how to do to live the life that God called them to do, and then they do the faith walking work and they get some kind of real relational breakthrough, or some breakthrough in their understanding of their mission in their life and their capacity to give themselves to the mission. It's not just an anecdote, it's a story that happens over and over and over and over again. So I wanted to tell you that story, and then here's the other thing that I wanted to tell you. I left the employment of faith walking in February of 2018. As I left that work, I had done a lot of reading and had a lot of understanding about what they call the founder syndrome, where somebody founds a ministry and he's been around for a long time and he's kind of the expert on everything because he has been there since the beginning. And then a new leader comes along and it's really hard for him to step into the role of the previous leader. So I knew about that, and so early on in the transition, I said to Ken and I said to the board that I was going to really step away. Though I love faith walking, I wanted to volunteer, I wanted to be involved in any way that I could, that I really thought it was wise for me to step away for a while so that Ken and Marcos and others who were going to lead in this second iteration of faith walking would have the freedom to really be able to do that. And so I actually did step away for about a year, or maybe as many as 14 months. All during that time, Marcus and I and Ken and I were having coffee on a regular basis. We've got really great friendships that have been sustained during this transition. And at every point along the way, I was saying to Ken, at some point in time, I want to come back and be a volunteer. I want to be a coach. I want to present at the retreats. I want to do something that contributes to what faith walking is about. And so there came a time where there was a pastor here in the Houston area that I'm coaching who asked if I would be willing to be the person who led the faith walking retreat for him and for his leaders. And so I went to Ken and told him about that invitation, said I'd like to do that. And Ken said, "That'd be great. I'd love for you to do that. And for you to do that, you need to see the new material. I knew they'd been working on the Foundations material. I hadn't seen any of it, hadn't read any of it. I knew that it was taking the original work that Tricia and Steve Capper and I had done and was really expanding on it in some really great ways. That's what I'd heard. I said to Ken, great, send it to me and let me look at it. And a couple of days later, I got an email, downloaded that material, and started looking at the first Foundations course, and I was blown away. I was blown away. I helped write the original material. I know how good it is. I know that those stories, like Cindy told me in Sheboygan, grow out of the work that we had done. And what's happened is in this new iteration of the work, the material is deeper, it's more theologically grounded, it has much more practical application, it moves at a slower pace because they've learned that the transformation process doesn't happen quickly, and all of that. The work that Ken and Marcus and Angela, that the team and that the board are doing is just absolutely remarkable and to me amazing. And it's because of all of that that Betty and I continue to give a fairly significant percentage of our charitable giving to the work of Faithwalking. We believe in it, we're committed to it, and we invite you to join us in providing the kind of encouragement and support that would help make this work available in more and more places across the country and around the world.